Hey everyone, welcome back to Financial Revelations. It's been a few weeks. I blame Corey for that. Actually, she's been out for a couple weeks. So she's back, and we have Financial Revelations back. And as always, you can call here, you can email us here, you can find us on Twitter. You can go, I'm going to talk about this in a second, but there's a webpage that you can go to buy my book. But we are back, and it's a big day today. Since I've seen you last, I did a book signing for Sin of Retirement, and you can go to sinofretirement.com and buy the book. There's merchandise there. I'm trying to figure out, there's one more shirt that I want on there, and in my opinion, socialists are just failed communists. They're people that can't go the whole way or can't get the full will of the people to go full communist. I'm trying to figure out how to put that on a hat or a shirt, but there's a lot of things in there like communism sucks, buy the chaos, which we did today a little bit. So there's a lot of things there that you can engage with. We're going to do a blog there. Like, I don't know how much more people want to hear from me, but you're going to hear from me even more, whether you like it or not. You can also go to Amazon and buy the book, and there's an Audible book there on Audible. It's part of Amazon. Audible is part of Amazon now. And there's also an ebook. So you can get the book just about anywhere. People are buying the book. By the way, if you came to the book signing, thank you for doing that. It was a lot of fun. I had no idea what was going to happen when we got there, so I was really overjoyed is not, I think I was overjoyed just with the turnout, people that came out, the interaction that we had. It was a lot of fun. Thank you for coming out if you did that. And I want you to, I want you to buy the book, but not because I wrote it or anything, but because I think it has an important message to people. We're going to answer a question today that somebody sent in, a listener sent in. And I want you to send in your questions. I want to answer questions here. But I think it addresses an important issue in society today as we save and plan and, forego purchases today for something in the future. And that's really what investing is. You're going to forego something today for something in the future, a promise of the future. You're not going to go on vacation today because you're saving money today for the future. So what is that future going to look like? How is it supposed to look? What is it? What is the wise thing to do in retirement? And there are some jobs that you cannot work past age 65. You cannot be a commercial airline pilot past the age of 65. It doesn't matter what kind of shape you're in or not. You cannot work past age 65. Could you imagine I know somebody who gets pulled over by the police a lot because they drive really fast. There's nothing wrong with driving really fast. There's something wrong with getting caught driving really fast. So they get caught a lot. Could you imagine if you got pulled over and the police officer came up to your car in a walker? Well, no, they're not going to do that. You're not going to be a police officer at 60. So it's too hard. That's a hard job. I wouldn't want that job. Really hard. You're chasing people. People are always mad at you because you're pulling them over or trying to get someplace. So anyway, the book talks about those things. You can get it in any format that you want. I think it's great. I love it. So, and I'm proud of it, and I want you to have it. So thanks for coming out to the book signing. Today was a big day in the market because it denoted a change of regime in the Fed's policy, a regime change in Fed think. And Chair Powell! This is the only place I can do that. Although while we were at the book signing, I had Henry, a longtime listener. Henry yelled Chair Powell for us, and he does a great job. I think he does it even better than me. But Chair Powell! And the FOMC, he calls him Chair Fowl because I think the chairman, I'll get to that in a second. No, I'm going to get to it right now. Chair Fowl because he's political and he's messed up. This is the second time he's messed up, and I'm going to tell you why he's going to go out with a bang. But they cut interest rates 25 basis points. Now, listen, today is meaningless. Today does not matter. Today is just a sunny day in Cleveland. It's about 80 degrees outside, although in my office it's like 62. I do that on purpose to get people out of here quicker because they're so cold. But today is not the important day. Today is the start date of an important regime change, which is a rate cut regime. So from here on out, from here till next May, when Chair Powell is no longer the Fed chairman, they're going to be cutting rates. And why does he want to do that? What did we learn about the Fed today? We learned a couple of things. One, the Fed is late. The Fed should have been cutting in April, but maybe it's good that they waited because the market's gone up this whole time, and it's going to continue doing that. The Fed is political because the first thing that Fed chairman said when he did his press conference is the Federal Reserve's independence is paramount. Why would he say that first? Because he's political, and they're not independent. They're more like arm's length distance, if even that, from whoever the chief executive is. And right now it's Donald Trump. When it was Joe Biden, they were arm's length distance. If they weren't political, they would have been raising rates into the Biden administration's easy money policy, where they basically backed up dump trucks full of cash and dumped them in everybody's lap and flew helicopters over and threw cash out. So they are political. And listen, Chair Powell does not want to go out being thought of as the Arthur Burns of our time. Arthur Burns was Jimmy Carter's Fed chairman. Before Joe Biden, Jimmy Carter was the worst president we've ever had. And Jimmy Carter passed away, and he was extremely old. He's like 100 years old. And so there's, most of us aren't going to make it to 100. So he lived a full life. And to be honest, he was a much better ex-president than he was a president up until Donald Trump came along. And then he got really political about Donald Trump. I don't know. It's kind of a bad way to go out, but I have respect for him. But he's a horrible president, and his Fed chairman was horrible. And Chair Powell does not want to be known in that sentence. He doesn't want to be part of that sentence. And after Jimmy Carter, Joe Biden was the worst president we've ever had by far. And so Chair Powell is going to go out with a rate cut regime. He's going to go out and be remembered as the guy that cut rates and drove the stock market even higher. That's what he's going to do. And what they told you today was buy risk assets, buy stocks. Do not buy bonds if you don't have to. Don't put your money in a money market unless you have to. Go buy stocks. Stocks are going up. That's what he told you. I think that mortgage rates are going to be at 5%. The 30-year mortgage will be at 5 or sub 5% by May of next year, which would lead us to a huge selling season. Now, real estate, at least in most places, probably California is a little bit different because it generally never gets cold there. But when you think of the real estate market, you think of about May through August. If August, but it starts to slow down towards the end of summer because if you have kids, you want to buy the house in May so you can close in June, so you can move at the end of June, have the kids in the school system by the start of school. This is how people think, okay? Nobody wants to move in the middle of a school. Just think of how much your kids complain on a normal day. What if you're changing school systems in the middle of a year? That's tough on families, tough on kids. So we're going to have a really good refi season. Refi season is 12 months a year. That's going to start picking up. You're going to start to see the off-season home sales start to pick up. Retired couples, people with no kids, dinks, things like that. They can buy anytime. They don't care. They don't have a care in the world. If you have no kids and double income, you don't have a care in the world. So basically the world is your oyster. They can buy any time of the year, but the lion's share of homes will sell starting April, May, probably April, and go through July. That's going to be big. It's going to be huge. And markets are going up. So that's what's going to happen. The Fed told you today that's what's going to happen. So stay tuned. I'm sick of talking about the Fed. There's been years of my career where the Fed wasn't even mentioned, the last 3 years, it hasn't been like that. It's only been about the Fed. And when that's the major news, I just, I was reading this this great commentary the other day. Not a person that I agree with a lot, but I respect their opinion. And one of the things that they said was, we have tried easy money. We have tried QE and all these different things, negative interest rates in Japan and Europe. And what have we gotten for that? We've gotten 2% growth rate. And really what we should be doing, we're taking in money from tariffs right now, and there's a discussion about what to do. And what we should do is pay down our debt. We should go back to, and the Trump administration is kind of on board with this: smaller government, less debt. Now there's a really good argument for why we need some debt, some level of debt. Okay, so what is that level of debt? I think it's $17 to $20 trillion. We're at like 37 to 38 trillion right now. So you cut your debt in half, you go to a smaller government, and you take that tariff money and you pay off as much debt as you possibly can, and you lower budgets and you pay off your debt. And I think with that model, you would get closer to 4% growth rates. And when you look at, if you look at Germany, France, England, Italy, since 1990, their incomes have grown. Italy's growth rate in income is 40% less than ours. There isn't a country in Europe who has a growth rate, income growth rate, that's anywhere close to ours. What does that tell you? I'm waiting. I know what it tells me. Socialism does not work. It just does not work at all. If you want to guarantee worse outcomes, poor populace, be socialist. If you want to guarantee better outcomes, be as close to a free market capitalist as you can be in this marketplace. Right behind, on the other side of this camera, is a sign that says, in a world where you could be anything, be a free market capitalist. I had it commissioned. Melissa did it for me because she's an artist. Free market capitalism is the kindest thing that you could be. It has dragged more people out of poverty and destitution and irrelevance than any market system ever. Is it perfect? It's pretty close. It's pretty close. Now, we put guardrails on our capitalism, and we've disallowed monopolies, because monopolies are an aberration. They're a perversion of capitalism, because it corners the market, and you want competition. That's capitalism. So when people say, well, look at how there's monopolies. Well, that's not capitalism. If you look at socialism or communism, there is no good outcome. Everybody is poorer. Everybody is worse off. Everybody is unhealthier. Everybody has a harder time getting to the doctor. Can you cherry pick a few things in socialism that work? Yeah, you can. But by and large, you're paying the price. You're paying the price. So text in your questions, email your questions. Well, you can't text in your questions because I'm not giving you my cell phone number. So whenever I give my number out, I tell people, just in case you forget it, it's written on the bathroom wall. So I don't know who did it. It's just for a good time. For a good rate of return call. That's it. That's what I'm going to write on the bathroom wall. In fact, that's going to be a t-shirt. I just thought of a new t-shirt. So choosing a Roth versus a regular IRA, or a Roth 401k versus a regular 401k. This really just comes down to a math problem. So let's say you're in a higher tax bracket now, and you envision a time where you're in a slightly lower tax bracket. Maybe you're at your highest income earning years, and you get offered a Roth 401k. That's what you should take, because if you're going to be in a lower tax bracket in retirement, it makes sense. Now, the younger you are, I think the better and more sense it makes to do a Roth, for a lot of reasons. Compounding interest, the fact that if you're in a low tax bracket, the deduction doesn't make as much sense to you. So use a Roth, because when you come out, the way compounding growth works, you're going to have substantially more money in there, and that could put you into a higher tax bracket. Now, as far as conversions go, when you get to retirement, let's say you have a regular IRA or a regular 401k, and you say, well, if I calculate a 9% growth rate, which is what I do, that's going to make your required minimum distributions confiscatory. And so you want to convert. And so, again, your highest earning years go pre-tax if you're already there, and then do conversions later on in retirement when you're in a lower tax bracket. And, you know, the other question that we have today, if you're going to retire early, how do you save for that? Well, I just wrote a book on this called The Sin of Retirement. And I don't want you to be thinking about necessarily an early retirement, unless you're in the kind of a job that is so physically demanding, or maybe you have to retire early. But, you know, you get to your 50s and your 60s, you're in your highest earning potential years. Why do you want to give that away to go golf badly every day? You don't. Trust me, you don't. I have had, early on in my career, I had a bunch of people from AT&T that retired early, to a person. They all went back to work. Now, I see this a lot because we work with entertainers and athletes, and you don't see a lot of 50-year-old football players. There's no 50-year-old linebackers. So they, you know, if you have a long career in the NFL, you're 35 when you retire. That would be a huge career. So what are you going to do? Well, you got to plan for these things. You got to plan the next phase of your life. You can't get there and say, I wonder what I'm going to do now. You got to be working up to that. So if you're a normal person like us, actually, I'm not really normal. I'm like exceptional. But for most normal people, you can retire somewhere around 60 to 65 to 70 years old. The 5 years prior to that retirement date, we need to be thinking what's coming next. There needs to be a plan in place. And if not, you're missing out. That's what my book talks about. That's why I want you to have it, because it's going to help you plan for those things. You can get it at sinofretirement.com, amazon.com. There's an ebook, an Audible book. You can listen to you. I didn't read it, so you're not going to get more of my voice. Don't worry. If you're like, listen, I listened to the podcast, I heard them on the radio, it's all I can take. Sometimes I go home and I'm in my radio personality with my wife, and she'll say, David, you're not on the radio right now. Sorry. So I do it to my dogs. They just walk away and hide under the bed. These are things that are important to talk about. These are life decisions. You can't make it in an afternoon. You can't come into my office and say, well, what should I do now? We need to be thinking about this prior to arrival. Okay, prior to arrival. It's like, I'm going to Florida. I don't rent a car when I land. I just did it today. Well, retirement is way more important than that. So you can't get to retirement and then say, well, what am I going to do now? You got to plan for these things. Don't make me say it again, okay? So buy risk assets. Risk on. Risk on. I love this. We're going to make so much money. I love it. The last couple of days, right before the rate hike, I'm like, okay, I need to know who's in cash. I need to deploy it. So that's what we did. And not for absolutely everybody, and not all the cash. We always have some cash. So buy the chaos. I got a hat for that on the website. So this is how we plan, okay? I am David Safransky, a real American, a true red-blooded patriot, and the voice you can trust.